Rightio, today we're going to be talking about the team I took to the Liverpool Regionals, which was about a month ago. I know you're all thinking, yes, this is probably irrelevant now. That was Series 1, we're in Series 2, and it was a month ago, and there's been other tournaments since. But I really like this team, and although we're in Series 2 now, I still think that some of these sets and Pokemon can still be relevant. I mean, just look at the Oceania tournament, that was last weekend. I mean, Alberto Lara and Gavin Michaels both were using like updated versions of their Series 1 team, just updated for Series 2. So there's no reason that I could possibly do that to this team in the future. And I really like this team. I spent a long time, I literally, as soon as the kind of rules were announced early on, I started working on this team. So it was like a month and a bit's worth of building this. And this is what I eventually came up with. So I'm going to go through it. I'm going to go through the team, and I'll probably talk about the tournament in general a bit afterwards as well. My experience, I guess. Going into it, I was hoping, my idea was to be extremely prepared, and that just didn't happen. I'd been playing a lot online, obviously, but I hadn't played a best of 3 for about 2 years, probably about 2 and a bit years. I've not played a proper best of 3, and I hadn't played at a live event for just shy of 3 years. The last one I played was before Liverpool was February in 2020. So I was way out of practice, and I was thinking, right, I need to use things I'm either comfortable with or just a general good stuff team. I didn't want a kind of setty-uppy sometimes I think there's 2 types of, not all the time, but there's I don't know what words are to describe it. There's proactive teams in a way where you there's a lot of setup and tailwind or trick room, or there's reactive where you kind of bulky good stuff that can maybe set up a bit, but you kind of just reacting to what your opponent's doing. I generally prefer that reactive sort of style most of the time, so I kind of wanted something that was more like that but had answers to everything. I was trying to make the all-round perfect team, and I don't think I was too far off, to be honest. I really felt like this team had a fighting chance against everything. There was some matchups for sure that were trickier than others. The 1 or 2 in particular, which I will go into at some point. But yeah, that was my aim going into this. So I did, annoyingly, I had kind of about 7 teams that built up to this finalised version. And I was going to go through them, but however, guess what? Showdown, was it yesterday? Yesterday, logged on, all of my teams were deleted, and I was like, great, that's 6 years, 7 years nearly worth of teams just out the window. Fantastic. It's happened to me before, but I managed to recover them all. Anyway, I did have most of them backed up on an external hard drive, but I didn't have anything from this year's, so all my Series 1 stuff was gone. But obviously I had this team saved. So other than that, so I can't go through all the different changes I had, sadly, but yeah, initially I kind of started off with, I want Fire, Water, Grass core, I wanted speed control, I was thinking, I knew I wanted Tailwind. I was testing loads of random teams out, and I really liked Hydreigon. I thought Hydreigon was really good, and I really liked Garchomp. I'm comfortable using Garchomp. Garchomp to me always pairs well with Rotom Wash, and Amoonguss is always a no-brainer for your grass type. Obviously, your type cores aren't as relevant anymore in a way, but I still feel like they are. I don't think I could use a team that doesn't have Fire, Water, Grass. It's absolute comfort zone for me. So I wanted to go Fire, Water, Grass. I think I originally had Arcanine in the is it Armor Rouge? Armor Rogue. I don't know how to say Armor Rouge, Armor Rogue. I'm gonna call it Armor Rouge, Armor Rogue. Armor Rogue. I can't pronounce them. Anyway, yeah, I originally had Arcanine there, but I'll just go through the individual Pokemon anyway. Yeah, so Amoonguss was the... Amoonguss was doing Amoonguss things. I mean, everybody knows what Amoonguss does. I went Rocky Helmet purely because of Mouse Hold. I started using that very early on when people were using like the super offensive like population bomb stuff, because Amoonguss could live it and obviously KO the Mouse Hold with the Rocky Helmet, which was super handy and super funny. Amoonguss was also really handy for stuff like Scarf Annihilate, because if it's like Final Gambit, Amoonguss could live that, which was dead handy as well. And Amoonguss's main job was Dondozo answer, basically. I mean, most of the time, obviously Terra Flying picked up with Dondozo, but most of the time I'm going to try and clear Smog it or Spore it. If it was Terra Steel, that was a huge issue. I'll get onto that later. But yeah, I went with this. Most people didn't have dropped Protect for Pollen Puff. I still like having Protect on Amoonguss. Like on the team, on like the Volcarona team we're using at the moment, I've swapped Clear Smog for Pollen Puff because my Dondozo answer on that team is Perish Song. So I don't really feel Clear Smog is as necessary, but I like having Protect. That's just a personal preference thing. Like I could have easily had Pollen Puff as well, but it's just sometimes when your opponent's like, well, Amoonguss won't have Protect. I mean, they will know I have Protect, but most of the time Amoonguss is like a safe thing to attack into. They expect in Rage Powder, maybe not attack into it sometimes, and the Protect can kind of, on the occasion, put you in a good position. So Amoonguss is pretty self-explanatory, really. Hydreigon, Life Orb, amazing. Probably one of the first times that I've not had a Pokemon with such an offensive Pokemon without Protect. But it was fast enough. I had Amoonguss Redirection just to get a Tailwind up, and the other moves felt like necessary. Originally, I was using Terra. I had Terra Poison for a while with Terra Blast instead of Heat Wave, and that was pretty good, to be fair. I really liked that. That was when Sarah Ledge was really popular. At one point, for a week or two, it was like super popular, and I was really struggling against it. So that Terra Poison was really handy just to pick it up, because a lot were just Terra Grass. Well, I eventually swapped to Terra Fire, and yeah, it was great. Hydreigon was great. The EVs were 4. I think that the HP gave me, I think it was just for, I think the special attack stat was to like guarantee that Draco Meteor knocked out opposing Hydreigons and Garchomps, and the HP was, it gave me like a pretty good chance of living an opposing Draco Meteor, or was it to guarantee live a Dragon Claw from Garchomp? It might have been that, actually. It might have been or he has a good chance to live a Dragon Claw from Garchomp. I think it was that. Without wasting too much special attack. It was kind of specific. Sadly, I can't remember the specificness of it because it's been a month. I should have done this a month ago. But anyway, I did really like this Hydreigon set. And I still think maybe Hydreigon, I mean, it's definitely not going to be as good in Series 2 because you've got Flutter Mane and Iron Bundle. Although with Terra Fire, you're resisting both of those, so it's definitely still got a place. Yeah, definitely. And I love Hydreigon. I've always liked Hydreigon, so it was nice to be able to use. It's nice when you get to use Pokemon that you like that are also good and fit a team, and Hydreigon was kind of a good answer. Obviously, Levitate paired very well with the next Pokemon, Garchomp. Oh man, I really liked Garchomp. I went with Swords Dance. I did try a few things. Life Orb was one I was playing around with for a while, with like Rock Slide, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, Protect. But yeah, Clear Amulet is such a such a good item. Like, what a great addition to the game. Basically, it's cracking. And with Terra Ground Earthquake, I mean, if you can get Tailwind up with this, if you can get High Dragon set with Tailwind, get Garchomp into position, you got High Dragon, Garchomp next to each other, or something like that, or Garchomp, Rotom next to each other, and you're in Tailwind. Especially if you can manage to get a Swords Dance on some sort of whatever. If you get a Swords Dance up, you're in Tail. You're just laughing. It's ridiculous. It was great. It's Garchomp. Everybody knows Garchomp's good, and we're still seeing it in Series 2. Like, it's still scary to go against. Like, its stats speak for itself. It was just the offensive powerhouse. So those were kind of. High Dragon Garchomp was kind of like the Tailwind mode. And then everyone else was like mid-speed. So the next kind of defensive lot. Rotom Wash. I love Rotom Wash. I've been using it. I've used it for ages, a lot over the years. And I always like this Protect Thunderbolt Will-O-Wisp Hydro Pump. There's stuff like Discharge, which is good, and Volt Switch is always handy, but I'd still just rather keep it as this. Rotom was so good for me against Rain. It was so handy. Like, it really did do a number on those Rain teams, especially if you got a Will-O-Wisp off against something like Palafin or something. You were in such a good spot, and it just felt like the glue. I tried Gyarados because, again, that obviously pairs well with Garchomp. I did try Palafin a bit, and I tried. What was the other one I had? I had Vaporeon in that slot for a while because of Haze, so that was quite funny. It kind of worked. Gastrodon I tried as well, but I already had Garchomp, so I didn't need another ground stab. It was a bit wishy-washy. Wishy-washy. So we went with Rotom Wash, and it was cracking. I literally have no complaints. The main scary thing was Meowscarada. Obviously, now with this, I lived a Flower Trick from a normal one. If it was Choice Band, no way. But that's why I was Terror Electric, because I could, if I knew it was, obviously I did know it was Choice Band Meowscarada in a tournament setting because I've got the team sheet. So I could Terror Electric and Will-O-Wisp it. That was very handy. I did manage to do that a couple of times because Choice Band Meowscarada was something that this team really struggled with. Look at it now. Like, without Terroring, knock off Choice Band, KO'd Armor Rouge. I'm gonna call it Armor Rogue. No, Armor Rouge. I don't want to say Armor Rogue. You don't even spell Rogue like that, do you? It's R-O-G-U-E. Armor Rouge. My goodness. Yeah, so Meowscarada, knockoff would KO Armor Rouge. Flower Trick Choice Band would do a ton to Sylveon. I don't think he KOs it. It'd one-shot Rotom. It'd do a ton to Garchomp. Choice Band U-turn, one-shot Hydreigon, which is shocking. So with Choice Band Meowscarada, it was like it has the potential to either KO outright half my team if I don't Terror, or just do a ridiculous amount of damage. Like, it was such a scary Pokemon to go against. I had to be really, really careful against playing with it. And I couldn't use Redirection, obviously. Amoonguss is Grass type, unless it's changing, blocking something else. So I had to either get up Tailwind or Trick Room, which we'll get on to in a minute. But yeah, it was very tricky to play around that Pokemon. So Terra Electric was definitely the call on Rotom. Let's talk about Sylveon next. Sylveon is one of those Pokemon that I've always thought was really good, and every time I played against it, it felt super threatening. But every time I used it over however many years, I didn't feel like it worked for me. I could never get it to work. And then this worked. I loved this set so much. I would use this again in Series 2. It's so good. So a modest, bulky Terra Water. I can't tell you how handy that Terra Water came in. Like, against Rain teams, it was great. In fact, against everything, it was great. because you're resisting steal. And most people are going to use like King Gambit or something like that against you. That was a big threat for his team, King Gambit. It's a scary Pokemon. And against Annihilate as well, this thing was so good. I could Hyper Voice, if it Terrors, most of the time it was Terra Fire, so I could just, if I can get, some sort of speed control up, I can Water Terra Blast it. And if I don't Terra Water, Terra Blast is just a really strong Fairy type attack. With the Throat Space, basically, it's 80. So it's not quite as strong as Moonblast, but being able to swap it to Water was just, it was so handy. And most people were running Yawn on Sylveon as the other, it'd be like Protect, Hyper Voice, Moonblast / Terra Blast, and then Yawn. I tried Yawn, but I was very aware that I didn't have any sort of priority just to pick up, last minute focus sash, especially something against, like I said, like Meowscarada was quite an issue. Just hit so hard and it was so fast. If it's a focus sash variant, if I can, get it down to its sash with Heat Wave on Hydreigon or even Hyper Voice with Sylveon, I can just finish it off with a Quick Attack. That was really, really handy. I can't tell you how many times Quick Attack came in handy. Really, it was cracking. Sylveon was like probably MVP of this team for sure. It was ridiculous. It was really, really, really good. And last one, probably the weirdest set, because I didn't really see many people using Armor Rogue. No, Armor Rouge, for goodness sake. I actually thought about it before I said it. I thought, it's Armor Rogue, but it's not. It's Armor Rouge, isn't it? I'll get it right one day. I didn't really see many people were using Armor Rouge like this. Most of them were either Life Orb, All Out Attacker. There was some like bulkier Trick Room ones, but not till around about the tournament time. The month before, I don't think I saw any using Trick Room. And I certainly didn't see anybody use Mystical Fire. Why did I use Mystical Fire instead of Armor Cannon? Yes, Armor Cannon. Very, very strong. But the aim of this Armor Rouge is not to get big KOs with whatever. That's not what I was using it for. My aim was to be support with Wide Guard, which was absolutely crucial. I can't tell you. It felt like a necessity. It really did. Wide Guard was amazing, especially against Trick Room. Every time I played a Trick Room team on ladder, or did I play Trick Room in the tournament? I don't think I actually went up against Trick Room in the tournament, like hard Trick Room. It just felt like an auto win with this thing. Honestly, people running Torkoal, Flash Fire, whatever. Who's next to it? Hariyama or something like that. I'm just going to Terra Grass. Or if it's a Moongus, Terra Grass. You can't Spore me. I just hit back with a Mystical Fire into the Torkoal, drop its special attack, take a bit of damage as well, or Expanding Force into whatever, because it still does a lot of damage because I'm modest, and it's a special attack stat is high. It does do a lot of damage, but the bulk on it was just so good. I honestly loved this set so much. It really felt like the answer to Trick Room, and I had my own Trick Room, which was extremely, extremely good. There was a couple of sets. Yeah, there was a few games in the tournament where Trick Room was absolutely key. The one game in particular that stands out where Trick Room basically won me the set was against, was it round 3? I played I hope I don't butcher his name. Leonardo Bononomi, is it? Who won the I can't remember which Players' Cup he won. It was either the third one. It might have been the third one, the second or the third one with a Charizard team. Anyway, I played him and I was like, oh no, I'm going to get decked here. But I managed to win the first game with Tailwind. I think I might have led like Hydreigon, Armor Rouge in set. I said Armor Rouge again. Oh, it is Armor Rouge. Oh my goodness, please, what am I doing? And I managed to get Tailwind up and sweep that way. And I was like, okay, we're good. But the next game, I led the same, and he led with his Tailwind mode. And I set up Trick Room. And Sylveon just absolutely swept. It was great. But that trick room was just such a handy. That's what I was saying about this team in the beginning. I have Tailwind mode, I also have Trick Room mode, and it makes good mind games at the beginning of any. Especially if you lead like High Dragon, Armor Rouge, because you're either. I mean, you're getting speed control potentially one way or another. There are times where that kind of went south, but it definitely gave some good mind games, and it was just a handy tool to have. So yeah, that's the team, and this Pokemon being bulky was just like really, really good. I really can't describe how well that set worked, and I definitely didn't see anybody else using Mystical Fire on it, and Mystical Fire was so good. Even just like getting a special attack drop on a High Dragon or something could really turn the game around for you. And maybe it didn't get that big KO on like Goldengo, for example, but it could set you up for a win in a different way, basically. So yeah, that was a team. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, it really did feel good against everything. The biggest problem I had was against Dondozo. And I'm sure you can see how that thing could just potentially sweep my team. Amoonguss was absolutely... When my opponent had Dondozo, my initial plan was to lead something that I think I always led... I think most of the time I led Sylveon Armor Rouge and had Amoonguss Rotom in the back. Because generally I tried to get Trick Room up, or try and get a quick few KOs with Sylveon maybe, because I could tank a few attacks. And then the idea was to, when Dondozo was in, to have Rotom and Amoonguss out at the same time, because I could either try and Will-O-Wisp it, or Spore it, or Clear Smog it. The problem, and most of the time it worked out pretty well, most of the time. The biggest issue was Steel Dondozo. I might as well just forfeit straight away. That was very, 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 very tricky. I did had beaten it a few times, but on ladder, Dondozo felt like very, very difficult to beat, because I had to have like a very specific game plan depending on its Terra type. So that was difficult to beat. And in the tournament, I did play 2 Dondozo teams. I'm pretty sure I lost both times, actually. Yeah, I did. One was... I can't remember what one was. One was Terra Flying. It was against... was it David Kutesh? Kutesh, I don't know. His team was like super hyper offense, and it was like a super hyper offense. It was like Choice by Meowscarada and Dondozo, and I was like, oh no, this is gonna go so bad, and it did. Yeah, that was not happening. That was like too much. But yeah, Dondozo was an issue. The other, and then everything else felt alright. Choice by Meowscarada, again, as I said, that was an issue, but it was manageable. I did beat a couple of teams with that. And the other one that I didn't even consider an issue, it wasn't even something that I'd ever seen or crossed my mind. I played someone with an Annihilate Mousehole team, and it was Terra Grass Annihilate. And I still cannot think how to beat that. That just... It was just not happening. I was like... honestly, it was like, obviously it was the beat up, bulk up, set, Defiant beat up, Annihilate, but Terra Grass, if it Terra Grass, it was just like, it was unbeatable, really. I mean, I could Clear Smog it, but it had redirection. I couldn't Spore it. I could try and burn it, redirection. It just felt like I really lost fast to that. It really just ran over me, and I really couldn't think of... You're probably thinking, oh, well, you could have done this, you could have done that, but actually, like, when you've got that support and the rest of the team to worry about as well, it was very, very tricky. to deal with. Annihilate was a little bit of an issue anyway, but Terra Grasp made it a lot more of an issue. So yeah, it was a fast one as well. So that was a good loss, a quick loss for me there in the tournament. The tournament itself was, so Liverpool is like about an hour and a bit, around 10 minutes drive from my house. So I got up at like 6 in the morning and had a bit of breakfast and drove to Liverpool on the day. We didn't start till, I think, like, they set the tables up for round 1 at like 10. So I was already like half asleep, about 5 coffees down me. And then there was a long wait. They originally said that who you were sitting next to first was just to give out team sheets, and then you'd swap for your round 1. But that ended up being round 1 as well. So yeah, I won the first round. Second round, I got paired against Callum Lear, who's very good. I've played him a lot in local tournaments. A very, very good player. And I was just like, really? Someone I know straight away? Like, who's good? Like, great. But I did manage to somehow pull that one off. So we were 2-0. Won the third round again. 3-0 going into the lunch break. I was like, okay, considering all the factors, like, I'd not played for so long, and I'd really wanted to prep that week, and had like the worst week ever in terms of like work and just stuff going on in my personal life that I literally didn't even get to practice. And I was like, this is the worst prep ever. So to go 3-0 into lunch, I was like, okay. I was like, oh my god, what's going on? The lunch break, oh my goodness. Honestly, I could have fallen asleep. It was so long. They gave us like an hour. They gave us an hour and a half for lunch. It was at least an hour, but it might have been an hour and a half. But added on the wait from the last round, and then there was still a bit of a lull after the lunch break, like 15 minutes till the next round started. It felt like about 2 and a bit hours of just waiting around, which was ridiculous, because by the time I got back to the fourth round, I was already fatigued. I felt so like, ugh. Anyway, I lost the fourth round against, I'd butcher his name if I tried to pronounce it. His Twitter handle is like, is it Barscast VGC, like BAASKAAS VGC. He played on stream against, I can't remember who he played, but he did play on stream the round after I played him. He had like Palafin Pelipper. It was a good rain team. I think I won the first one. I won the first match. He won the second one because I was really struggling to get rid of his Amoongus. That was an issue, actually. Opposing Amoongus on a rain team was very tricky, because I couldn't really bring Armarouge to combat it, and my best answer to rain was Rotom Wash, which wasn't great against Amoongus. You know what I mean? I had to bring Garchomp, and it was very tricky to play around. But I think he won the second game. In the third game, but they were all really close games. Like, it was probably one of the best of 3 sets I've ever had, actually. It's definitely up there, and definitely in the top 10. Yeah, it was a cracking set, but he did manage to clutch that one out. So it was 3-1. Then I played David Katesh, who, yeah, I said before, hyper offense, no chance. 3-2. Then I won the next round. Can't remember what I played. The round after that, I lost. That was the Annihilate Nightmare Terra Grass one, which was just like, I wish I could remember the rest of his team, because it really just felt like, I cannot win this. There's nothing I can do, sort of thing. What was that then? And then the round after that, I won. So I was 5-3 going into the last round. Yeah. And then the last round, the first game I won. Second game I lost. But it was close. Both games close. And then the last game, and I knew, like, in my head, I was like, before that last game, I was 5-3. And I was like, I can't I can't go negative. I've gone positive. Whatever happens, I've gone positive. I was honestly just chuffed to have gone positive because I really did not expect to go positive. No way. So I was just like, oh. But obviously at 5-3, if I win one more, I would have got CP probably at 6-3. I was like, oh, please, please, please. Anyway, I ended up losing the last game. It was close. I could have won it, but honestly, the time, it was about 11. It was, what time was it? No. It was about just before 10 o'clock, I think. Or it might have even been 10 o'clock. Which is ridiculous. I mean, it went from 10 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, basically. And yeah, that's great, but it's mentally draining, this game. And also, I was up at 6, so I've been up at 6, travelled, played a stressful mental game all day. Even though I absolutely loved it, it was great, fun experience. And you're playing till 10 o'clock. I didn't get home till 11:30. I was absolutely, what a sleep I had the next night. Actually, I didn't have that good a sleep because the next morning the cat woke me up at like 6 again. But yeah, it was a long day. It was way too long. 9 rounds is like, that's so draining. This is ridiculous. But yeah, maybe the last round, if I was a bit more with it, I could have maybe clutched it out. But it was a good game. I had fun. I've got no complaints. I was happy just to go positive, and I'm proud of this team, and I'm happy with how I played. So it was overall good. I finished. There was 400 and I think there was. I wrote it down. There was like, I can't remember how many players played. I did kind of. Just give me 1 second. So there was like 500 and something players registered. There was 487 players turned up, and I finished 5-4. This is the absolute killer. This was the one that did me in. I knew my resistance would be good because at least two of my definitely two, David Katesh and Bas Cars VGC, whose name is slipping my mind. They were both in top cut. So I was like, okay, I've got a good. I've probably got quite a good resistance here, and I did. I finished 131st. The CP bar, there was some 5-4s get CP. That finished at 128. So I was like 3 places off. I was like, I should have looked. That's so unlucky. Like, that's so destroying. I mean, yeah. But out of 470 or whatever, like 131st, I really was not expecting to any sort of. I wasn't even expecting to win, to be honest. I'm just so I was really chuffed with that, and I had such a good time. Definitely planning on going to more in the future. Sadly, I can't go to the International in London as much as I would love to. I already have plans, which I could technically cancel. I can't really, but I could at a push. But B, I can't afford a trip down to London. Sadly, it's an expensive do, and it is what it is. So I'm gonna have to miss that one. But you know, there's always other tournaments in the future that I can go to. But yeah, this was an extremely waffly video, and I probably haven't even talked about the team properly because I can't even remember it properly. But what I can say is it was really good. It felt super comfortable for me. I felt like I had at least a chance against everything. It just felt comfortable, and that's what you want in a team. It's definitely worth spending a lot of time on one team, getting comfortable with it and tweaking it to a point where you're happy with it. I mean, like I said, I slowly tweaked Mons, I slowly tweaked EVs. I go, oh, tiny bit more speed here, tiny bit more defense here, etc. And it just worked in the end. And yeah, I was happy with it. So yes, I have rambled on. If you've made it this far, congratulations. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in a bit.